Back in the 1960s, there was a group of revolutionaries who kind of foresaw the nightmare that Instagram and social media and influencer culture was going to turn into. The book they wrote about it is kind of a tough read, but luckily for us, the great director John Carpenter distilled a lot of the best ideas into his 1988 movie, They Live. Hi, I'm Matt Hirschberger. I write about facing a bleak world with hope, curiosity, and imagination. If that sounds like your thing, give me a follow. So the name of the group is The Situationists. Their leader, Guy Debord, wrote a book called The Society of the Spectacle, in which he tried to explain how capitalism had started to erode very basic human things like how we view stuff like personal fulfillment. He's got a lot of different arguments he makes in support of this, but the big one is that before capitalism, people defined success and fulfillment by being a certain type of person. In the early stages of capitalism, that shifted, and they started defining success as having certain things and having a certain lifestyle. And now, in the later stages of capitalism, his argument is that we care a lot less about having things and a lot more about appearing to have those things. So say you have someone that you follow on Instagram who always seems to be going on these extravagant international trips. Now, you don't know if they've gone into an enormous amount of credit card debt to pay for that trip. You don't know if all of the nice stuff that's around them and that they're eating in these trips that they're going on are paid for by them. And you're not seeing all of the ugly parts of travel, which anyone who's ever traveled much knows is a big chunk of travel. Instead, you're just seeing this kind of like idealized vision of it that they want you to see. And what the board said was that basically we end up not having relationships with people themselves, but with the images that they project of themselves. Now, the image that you present of yourself on social media doesn't have to be around travel. It could be around certain possessions. It could be around an ideology that you have that you're trying to signal to other people. It could be around a certain type of relationship you have or a certain type of family or a certain set of values. All of these things can be wrapped up and then packaged and then sold to everyone around you. But at the end of the day, you're not actually having a relationship with other people. You're just kind of selling yourself all of the time. So going even further, Debord suggested that in this world, humans would go from being creatures that do things to creatures that just consume things. So mass media, with all of its commercials and its suggestions for how you should behave or what you should be doing with your life, would come to absorb more and more of our waking hours. And this would capture our attention with constant, wild, outrageous spectacles that would only really serve to distract us from the drudgery that our lives had become. Now, if you like reading revolutionary theory by French intellectuals, by all means, read The Society of the Spectacle. It is dense, but it is very interesting. If that is not your thing, then you don't need to read it at all. You can just watch John Carpenter's 1988 movie, They Live. They Live, if you haven't seen it, is an incredibly low-budget, pulpy movie starring the professional wrestler Roddy Piper. In it, he's a drifter who discovers a pair of sunglasses that when he puts them on, show him that a lot of the world is controlled by a group of aliens who are giving subliminal messages through advertisements and TV, telling people to obey and consume. And he decides to try and take this down. The movie is also the source of the quote, "I came here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum." Now, if you didn't know anything about this before, you could be forgiven for believing that They Live is actually just kind of like a pulpy, dumb sci-fi movie. But John Carpenter has come out since then and said that a big part of the thing that inspired the movie was him being fed up with kind of this materialist, yuppie culture that sprang up in the Reagan era. The ideas from the movie and a lot of the visuals ended up being very influential to one person, Shepard Fairey, who is known for doing The Obey Giant, which was stolen directly from They Live. And what's interesting is that the street art movement was also heavily influenced by the Situationists. If you want to read more about this, check out my newsletter. It's betterstrangers.substack.com. My link is in the bio. Or it's spooky season. It's a great week to watch every John Carpenter movie. So start with They Live and then move on to The Thing.